This lecture is about political strategy. Political marketing strategy is about how parties, candidates, and governments think and plan in order to achieve their goals. It requires consideration of many different factors such as the nature of the market, the history of the market, the culture of the market, governance, stakeholders, competitors, resources, and goals. Political strategy is about the forming of objectives and implementing the tasks necessary to achieve those objectives with a pattern of consistency over time, given the limitations of available resources. Strategy is not just used to win power or elections, it is also used to ensure effective focus in government. Political strategy is often an iterative process. Whenever new information is obtained, it might change the strategy outlook. Nonetheless, political marketing has developed a number of concepts and frameworks to help us understand strategy. Political strategies include targeting, positioning, attack and defense, and sales and market orientations. We'll talk about targeting and positioning in this lecture, and sales and market orientations and attack and defense strategies in the next lecture. So what is targeting? Targeting is about the strategic resource allocation and focusing of products where there is a market for them that will help win the necessary support to achieve goals and objectives. In short, targeting ensures that resources go to where they will be most useful and most effective. Practitioners first need to decide on who to target. There are a number of different ways of doing this, drawing on a wide range of data to divide the electorate into smaller groups. So essentially, what targeting is using data and research to divide citizens into groups, and then you send your messages or your strategies are targeted to those specific groups where you think they will be most effective and save you the most money. At its most basic, targeting involves dividing the electorate according to traditional supporters who, if they vote, will support the candidate or party but need to be persuaded to get out and actually vote, or what we talk about as mobilization. It also consists of floating voters who have not yet decided to vote or who to vote for, and these two groups might influence the election outcome. But political marketers now engage in a diverse set of detailed targeting. Voters can be targeted by specific demographic groups. For example, when President Bill Clinton was trying to build support to pass his health care initiative during his first term in office, advertisements were produced featuring middle-aged women sitting around the kitchen table. There he was targeting middle-aged women. In the 2012 U.S. presidential election, both Obama and Romney targeted single women voters in the styling and messages of their advertisements. And Michelle Obama encouraged the public to join Women for Obama to help the campaign. The campaigns also divided the women target group further into single women, which they called swinglers, and married women. Now, the swinglers were important because their vote was more unpredictable. Research showed that women were more likely, or that single women were more likely, to switch alliances, hold out for the best deal, express their outrage by suddenly going cold on a candidate who had irritated them, and then warm up quickly to a new candidate who made a better offer. And they make up the fastest growing voting bloc of over 55 million voters in the U.S. Furthermore, there was a long-term strategy at play. Obama may have wanted to win their vote in 2012, but the Democratic Party also wanted to attract them and turn them into loyal Democratic voters over time. Parties and candidates have also targeted senior citizens in the U.S. since at least John F. Kennedy's campaign for presidency in the 1960s. Events are held in places such as nursing homes, senior centers, retirement and assisted living communities. Some states that have a higher proportion of seniors are also swing states with large electoral votes, and thus it is worth political marketing strategists to target these specific voting blocks. For example, Florida has 27 electoral votes, at least in 2008, and 25% of its voting bloc were senior citizens. So campaigns spend a lot of money targeting senior citizens. In Florida, they don't spend a lot of money targeting senior citizens in other states where there is not a large senior citizen population. Targeting is arguably even more important for smaller parties as it is for larger parties. because smaller parties need help to conserve precious resources and they need to deploy them more effectively. For instance, the UK Liberal Democratic Party increased their power by focusing on targeted geographic areas specifically, so that campaign efforts were placed in areas that had a chance of winning instead of being spread out evenly through the country. So instead of waging a national campaign, they built their campaign around geographical clusters, which enabled grassroots supporters to work across seats if needed, parliamentary seats if needed, and help them to build up shared credibility from having a historical and realistic chance of winning a seat in that region. Targeting is an effective strategy when communication and product targeting are linked. For instance, Tony Blair succeeded through displaying his policy promises to reduce class sizes on glossy billboards to appeal to traditional Tory voters in the middle of England. In the Canadian 2011 federal elections, Canadian parties utilized highly focused targeting campaigns and created policies and messages to suit narrow bands of the population to shift just enough voters to win. They utilized commercial market research data on buying and lifestyle habits, along with their own party's canvassing data and polling. So what they did was they took market research data on what people buy, such as this would be data that's gathered when you use your shopper's loyalty card at a grocery store or any other departmental store. And they took these lifestyle and buying habits and they merged them with data on political preferences. And they use this data to target specific segments of the population with specific messages, specific policies, in order to increase the chances they would vote. The firm called Environics Analytics broke down voters in Canada into 66 different types. So they had 66 different types of voters that were specifically targeted with different messages. As well as they created larger target groups, parties and candidates can also divide the electorate into micro or nano target groups using complex computerized data processing and statistical analysis. Such methods were used to a great extent in the 2012 US presidential election by Barack Obama. What this micro-targeting does is it saves resources by ensuring that the right message goes to the right potential voter. Positioning is about where parties and candidates place themselves in the marketplace in relation to the competition. There are 5 principles for successful positioning. The first is the clarity of the position. You need to know what the competitive advantage is of your product and what voters think of this position or what they think of your product. You need to have consistency of your position. The organization needs to offer a consistent position over time. There needs to be credibility of positioning. The voters must believe the position is accurate and credible. There needs to be competitiveness of the position. The position must be different than the competition. It should offer voters something of value that other products do not. And it must be communicable. Positions must be easily communicated to targets. If the public doesn't understand your position is going to fail. Let's look at some examples of positioning. In 2012, the Obama campaign positioned him as being the best candidate to take the country forward in the next 4 years. The campaign adopted the keyword forward in its speeches, its ads, and the podium to keep the focus on the future and not the past 4 years. This position worked as it convinced voters that Obama had a better plan for the second term, and even voters who viewed his first term negatively were willing to trust him to move in the right direction after 2012. Applying these principles of successful positioning, Obama's position was seen as credible, it was consistent and clear, it was easy to communicate, and seen as superior to Romney's slogan, which was more vague, "Believe in America." Hillary Clinton's failed bid to win the Democratic presidential nomination could be argued to be partly because she began the primaries in the leader position as the most well-known candidate due to her time as First Lady when her husband Bill Clinton was president. Clinton's product was largely informed by market research and promoted the theme of responsiveness and emphasized Clinton's proposals on issues that worried most voters, such as ending the Iraq War, universal health care, and reviving the economy. In terms of Clinton herself, the campaign strategy focused on characteristics such as her experience, having been tested and vetted already. However, Hillary Clinton met with a surprise challenger, the then unknown Barack Obama, who appeared as very fresh and energetic in comparison to her experience as a political figure. Experience is a very good product to feature and emphasize for a leader, but it can weaken the candidate if voters prefer the change theme, which the Obama campaign adopted very effectively. The Clinton response was to attack, arguing that Obama was unelectable, that he was inconsistent and hypocritical, and above all else, untested and inexperienced. However, Obama responded with a counterattack on her leadership position, painting her as a stale Washington insider. So each market position has advantages and limitations. What you would do is test different positions with different segments of the market and find one that resonates the most with voters. Strategies are also formed in how to cooperate or compete with other parties. In the lead up to the 1997 UK election, the leader of the Liberal Democratic Party, Paddy Ashdown, asked his party to accept cooperation with Labour in order to defeat the Conservatives. The Liberal Democrats doubled their seats in the House of Commons in 1997. They then pursued a strategy of constructive opposition to the Labour government. Under a new party leader, Charles Kennedy, the party became more opposed to Labour as they moved closer to the center ground and the Conservatives, opposing Blair taking Britain into an unpopular war in Iraq, which gained them more support in the 2001 election. In 2012, they formed a coalition government with the Conservatives under David Cameron to get into power to enact some of their policy goals. The party has therefore exhibited a wide range of strategies in response to their own policy goals and ideals, the competition, and the changing of their position in the political marketplace. So what you should know from this lecture is what is targeting, why is targeting used, and then what are the principles for positioning a product.